Take one and see me in the morning.
Well, I was going to say take one. That is a perfect transition because one thing I wanted to chat with you about in reading up with what you were doing, it seems like it common, maybe not common, but you started off as a session musician and playing in a lot of backing bands. And even though a lot of people
Well,
know you as a solo guy, I don't think that everyone knows the kind of chops it takes to have to be a session musician. And I want to ask about your time there. What have you learned about a performer, musician, professional from your time as a working session musician?
well, let's get the timeline right here. I started out as a child in the entertainment business, playing in a band. I was the youngest, and so I was 5 years old when we started playing, churches and band competitions and stuff like that in 1960, and then we got on. We got in a band contest and we won, and we got a TV appearance, and then we started touring around Australia. So I started out doing what I'm doing right now. I started out playing in halls and concerts and stuff like that. But when I grew up a little and started listening to a lot of records and learning as much as I could from listening to records, I was asked to play on some people's records, and this was just simple country music, but it was exciting to me to be recording. And so my goal then was to become a studio player. And I just had no idea how that was going to happen and how it was going to unfold. When I moved to the big city, I moved to Sydney in 1975. My goal was to work with everybody I could and to become a studio musician and play on people's records and stuff like that. That was my dream. So the first thing I was told is that I won't get any work because I cannot read music, right? That was the first thing I was told. And it wasn't true at all. There were a lot of guitar players in Sydney in those days who could all read music really well, but not many of them played that well. And not many of them played like you heard on successful records and all that sort of stuff. And so they could read the dots, but there was no music coming out. There was no feeling. And I was the opposite. I played, everything was all about the feeling of the music. And even if I couldn't read what was in front of me, I could interpret the song. And so I ended up getting a lot of work as a studio musician, not only as a guitar player, but as a bass player and a drummer. And I played percussion stuff as well. I think because I grew up on stage, I was unafraid to offer ideas. I didn't just show up and play what was expected and then leave. I would listen to the song and offer ideas. And so because of things like that, I think it gave me a different kind of reputation, and it gave me a different view on recording. So I ended up fulfilling my dreams and playing on people's records, playing on Coca-Cola commercials and everything that you can imagine I played on. And the only time that I ever struggled with anything was when I was doing a movie soundtrack, and there was a part written out, and the producer of the soundtrack wanted me to play this section, and he had it all written out. And so I had told him that I couldn't read, and he didn't believe me. And when it came time to do that, I had to put everything on hold for a second, go to the piano player and say, "Can you play this for me?" And as soon as he played it, I recognized what it was and all that. I worked it out, and away we went. So it was like 15 minutes of waiting for one person to get it together. That's the only time I can ever remember not being able to read really making me feel uncomfortable. But I ended up doing the job, and everything went okay.
You've talked about this story a bunch, hearing, Chet Atkins and being so inspired with how he was, able with the Travis picking, the bass lines and the thumb, rhythm and melody all at the same time. But I have to ask, because you're one of the few people who's been officially Chet Atkins certified, and talk to me about, what were you feeling when that happened? How did that happen? Because that must have been a huge moment for you.
Well, first of all, Chet and I were like family, and he must have seen something in me at a young age, because people were sending him tapes of me playing when I was like 18 years old, and I get letters from him saying, "Here's my number, here's my office number. When you come to Nashville, call me." And I was so blown away by that. And so when I finally came here to America in 1980, I called Chet, and he said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm up the road at the Holiday Inn." He said, "Well, come on down, I'll see you." And so, and we just hit it off. And he had no idea that he had influence so far away, But, I turned every guitar player that I could find in Australia, I turned them on to Chet's records and made tapes for them and said, "Listen to this song and this song." And, people were so amazed. What this generation doesn't know is that in the 50s and 60s, Chet Atkins was the name on everyone's lips. He was the guy that everybody wanted to hear and to learn from. And Chet's records sounded better than anybody else's. I mean, they just were beautiful, and he was like in time, in tune, had a great tone, had incredible ideas, and was not afraid to go from country, bluegrass, R&B to classical. I mean, he could play anything, So to fast forward to the CGP thing, Chet and I did this album together, and I kind of brought him up to speed with what I was doing around the world, because I was traveling the world, and I was teaching people this style and trying to hand it on, and I think he felt that it was a good thing, and that it was something worth notoriety somehow. And so in '99 at the Chet convention here in Nashville, we played together for the last time, because he had a stroke after that. But as I was about to leave the stage, he said, "Get back here. We got something for you." And he read out the award, which, here you go. You want to see it?
Please. There it is.
CGP, right? It says, "Presented to me in recognition of his contributions to the art of fingerpicking, July 10th, 1999. There it is. I forgot I had it sitting right here. There you go.
Worked out just fine.
Yeah, and here is a photo of the 3 CGPs.
Mm-hmm.
The boys.
The boys, love it.
Yeah, Steve and John and myself. There's only the 3 of us left. So certified guitar player is an idea of Chet's. He said, people go to college for 4 years and become certified practicing accountants and Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Music and blah, blah, blah. And he said, we spend our whole life being dedicated to this thing, and we get nothing to say, this is what we've achieved. He said, so I'm going to give you this to put on the wall, So, but, if there's anything I've learned in my life, that is that, and I've, without sounding boastful, I've won hundreds and hundreds of awards and all that stuff. But the reason I'm telling you this is awards don't feed the family. and pay the rent. Work does. So that's why, I've been in this business. Well, now I'm 67. So I've been in this business for 62 years as working hard, and it's still the same. I'm out here traveling, playing, teaching, and loving what I'm doing. So, if being a CGP is a great honor, but it's also a responsibility. I have to hand it on, and I try to honor the people who came before me that I begged, stole, and borrowed from, and I am guilty of petty theft. There's no question of that. When you hear me play, you hear all my influences, which is really how it is. I stand on the shoulders of giants, and I got a great view from here because of them.
That's beautiful. That reminds me of something. I had a Latin teacher who once said, "Good artists copy, great artists steal." So I think you'd be in good company.
If you want to talk about influences, if you listen to Chet's life, his music through his life, you can hear, I can hear Django there. I can hear Les Paul there. I can hear Jerry Reed there. I can hear Ray Charles there. And you can dissect it like that if you want. But when I wrote a song ages ago for Tom Bresh, who just passed away. He's the son of Merle Travis, and the song was called "Son of a Gun." And when I play that song, if you want to analyze it, you can go, "That's Tommy. Oh, there's Travis right there. And that little bit there's Chet." But then the bridge comes around. It's like, "Hey, that's Stevie Wonder." You know what I mean? It's because I'm a different generation. Mm-hmm. The influence of people like Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, James Taylor, James Brown, Michael Jackson, all those artists have influenced my playing and my songwriting, although the roots are the same roots coming from the coal mines of Kentucky, Mm-hmm.
When, we talk about both standing on the foundation and doing your part, to pass it on and keep the art going forward, I think maybe if people are new to what you do, are surprised that it is you, and it is a guitar for the whole show. And you did a great TED conference, kind of, TEDx conference, breaking, down this whole style and the different elements that you use. But that's still a leap, going from, being at such a young age, starting in the music industry, becoming a session player, and then really developing this style that you have as a solo guitarist, and making a life out of it. So how did you cultivate this sort of technique, or this idea of this approach of being like, I have to play for an hour and a half myself, because that's big? How did you cultivate it?
It's a funny thing, but it wasn't till I got to know the great James Burton, who played guitar with Elvis all those years and played. He's still one of my favorites. I got the spot opening for John Denver in 1988. I got the opening act, right? And so I'm playing to 25,000 people a night, right? John Denver was a big star in those days. So I come out as this complete, almost unknown new artist to the public in Australia, right? The musicians knew me, but the public didn't. And so, and it was the perfect thing for me. But the point I was going to make was that James Burton said to me years later, he said, I was amazed. You went out there and just played on your own and you weren't scared, you know? And I never thought about it as being a scary thing because, you know, people say, do you get nervous to go on stage? And I say, why would I be nervous going home? Because the stage is my home. It's where I grew up. And I can't wait to get out there. So, you know, my love of playing for people is what drives me, you know. I play music and you get happy. And I don't know how that happens. I don't know what it is. I know that it's not me, but it's something that happens when I play. And that's what keeps me growing and trying harder as an artist, because I want to fulfill that obligation, you know. And it's a beautiful thing, and I love it with all my heart. And it never ceases to amaze me. It never grows old, you know.
It seems like one of the themes of our discussion is the idea of joy, passing it on, giving something to the newer generation. And I found myself at the start of the pandemic getting deep into a bluegrass genre hole. And it was really cool discovering artists, revisiting some of the music of yours that has that kind of sound, but also discovering artists like Billy Strings, Molly Tuttle, these really incredible guitarists. You talk about what it means to you and how, certified guitar player is, a responsibility you have to maintain. How do you feel about, some of this new crop or this new generation of artists that you've had a chance to share the stage with? There's a lot of good ones out there. How you feeling about some of these new guitarists coming on the scene?
Well, they're mopping the floor with us. They're awesome, you know. They're killing us, and that's great. That's what we need. We need young people to take hold of this music and bring it forward, you know. The good thing about people like Molly, Sierra Hull, Billy, there are so many young ones out there, not only just in bluegrass, but in blues, in jazz, in country. There's so many good ones out there. It's really incredible. But, you know, it would be very easy to say they're not doing anything new because we've heard all that before. But that's not really a fair statement, because Molly is a great, not just a great guitar player and singer. Her writing is on a level that we aspire to. And when I got her Crooked Tree album, I got it and went out to my car and drove up the road and listened to it. And I had to listen to it 2 times through and take the songs in, take the production, the writing, it's just everything about it. And I rang her straight away and I said, my God, you've made the most amazing album. I want to congratulate you, not just on your singing and your playing and everything, but your writing is incredible, you know. And, you know, she was silent for a while, you know, but she's that good, you know. And you know, you listen to Billy sing Tennessee Stud, it's as good as anyone ever performed it in any time in history. So, you know, I remember one time at Merlefest, Brian Sutton and I got Billy up with us, and he just tore it up, you know. And we were like trying, because we're a little older than him, we were like pushing him. Come on. And he was just like nailing everything, you know. He was amazing. So Billy and Molly and Sierra and all, they're going to be on my next album.
Beautiful.
Next month, I'm getting to record my Accomplice 2 album. I have an Accomplice 1 out. I'm in the middle of recording Accomplice 2 now, but it's a secret.
I won't tell anyone. So, you know, the other thing you said, you know, we were talking about how your generation, you know, there were fewer TV channels. You know, when people were listening to the radio, really the cream of the crop was up there. Younger generation finds something in a different way. And I think probably the first time I learned who you were was I was a teenager and I was watching a cartoon show called American Dad. And there's that episode where one of the characters cuts a deal with the devil and learns to play guitar. So I Googled who this might be, and lo and behold, your name came up, and this is an incredible recording of Classical Gas. And that's how I found out about you. I'm sure a lot of other people in my generation did too. But walk me through that. Yeah.
That recording was, I had a couple of hours of studio time at a friend's studio in Germany on tour. And my wife at the time, she set up the cameras because she's good with all that. And my friend put the mics up and everything. We got a sound. And I did 6 videos in an hour. and each one was one take, right? And we finished the filming, we quickly mixed it, and bang. So that version is how I played it once in my life. It was totally improvised, and it was one pass, right? So people don't realize that. They think that must have been, hours and hours and hours of laboring in it, and it wasn't. I came in, I did it, I had to go out and do a show. So it served me well. But the people at American Dad, they contacted my management about that, and then they said, "Oh, we're not going to use it," and so we didn't think any more of it. Then all of a sudden, someone wrote to us and said, "Hey, I heard Tommy and American Dad," and we're like, "What?" So yeah, they eventually paid me. Anyway, that's the truth.
Okay, I'm glad the conclusion of that had a good ending there. I guess that could have gone badly. They
must have been down to their last trillion.
Something like that, I'm sure. So I've got one more question before I get to like these kind of like three kind of fun questions that I end every interview with a creative person on. But I'll do a little summary at the top of the article here. We've touched on some of these themes already. But if someone is checking out this interview, they think you're a really cool cat because you are. What would you tell them is sort of like, what can they expect when they come to see you in Rochester for the Jazz Festival on Parcel 5? Walk us through that show. I know you don't have set lists, but what does it look like? What is that show going to be like?
I'm excited, first of all, to be back working again, but I haven't played Rochester in quite a while. And it's always a great audience there. So there's a part of me I'm already trembling about it, and I'm excited. Hopefully I'll be able to see some of my fellow artists up there and hang out with some friends. But I have a lot of new songs in my show, and I have a lot of freedom. And I love that about where I'm at, not just in my life, but in my career as well. I've never felt like I have something to prove, but I do feel that I owe my audience the best that I can give them. Whatever it is, whatever's going to happen on that day, it's got to be the best that I can give, and I can't hold anything back. I remember reading a quote from Frank Sinatra, who said, "Just leave it all out there," and it's so true. So what the audience in Rochester can expect is everything I can give them.
We can't ask for anything more than that. The next question is, you teased the upcoming album, but I always like to ask artists this: what's the next thing you want to accomplish, whether it's like a 1-year goal or 5-year goal? What's kind of the next feather in your cap that you're looking to put in there?
I still want to find a way of being able to see my family more and still play a lot of shows. Mm-hmm. How do I do that? Please help me. Don't just look down, help me. I haven't written a lot of stuff lately, but I haven't worried about it because worry is a pointless thing. But I'd like to be able to write some good and meaningful music if that was the next on the cards for me. But I think I'm playing better. I think I'm getting a better sound. I've got some new Maton guitars that I love, and I've got a new amp that I'm totally in love with. And my sound man and I think we're achieving tones and quality of sound on a higher level than ever. So this is a good time for me. I've got great people around me, and my sound man is just awesome. He's an Australian as well, and I can talk with him about how is that mid-range on that guitar, and is that mic better than the other one that I put in it? And I can talk technical stuff with him, and he'll give me the right feedback. I remember I did a cruise earlier this year, and I had a couple of shows that I shared with Sierra Hull. And I wanted her to play guitar because she plays guitar great as well as mandolin. Damn, she's so talented. Anyway, she was playing a beautiful Collings, and I rolled up, plugged my amp in, and I was using this new Maton guitar with a seated top, and I wasn't sure that it was really doing the business. And I played the show, and everything went really well. And I saw a video on YouTube of somebody in the audience just with their iPhone. Wow, the sound was amazing. And I said, holy, that's what I'm looking for, you know. I was there. So, you know, but as players, you know, we're geeks. We're always looking for the ultimate sound, you know. And so, you know, just when I think I found it, I have to beat it.
Love it. And the last one, you gave a little bit already, and it's our big theme for this discussion about paying it forward and responsibility of being a certified guitar player. But if you had any advice to give for an aspiring artist or musician, what would it be?
Yeah, make sure you got some good songs. That's what it's all about. All the smoke and mirrors doesn't last long. You need to have good songs. So, you know, when parents have come up to me and say, how can my son get started doing what you're doing? I said, getting to learn some good songs. You know, you got to have something good to say to people and tell them stories and take them somewhere musically, you know. And so I think that's what good songs do for us. It takes us to another place. So whenever I'm listening to another guitar player and he's not doing it for me, I say, stop, take me somewhere. Don't just let me sit here and listen to you. Take me somewhere, you know. That's what we want. That's why we love movies, because movies take us out of ourselves and put us into another dimension. And someone playing an instrument like, you know, Sierra can play the mandolin and sing, she immediately takes us out to another dimension. And that's why we love all the people that we grew up listening to, including the Beatles. You know, people say to me, who do you listen to? You know, and they think I study guitar all the time, and I don't. I mostly listen to the Beatles. Every time I get in my car, it's on the Beatles channel, and that's it. It doesn't move, you know. And every time I hear She's Leaving Home, I cry. I can't believe they wrote something that good, you know? So if I could write something 100th as good as that, and today is Paul McCartney's birthday, and God bless him, what a man he is, what an influence. So I'll try to honor him as much as I can when I play one of his songs.